Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about a very famous piece you might have heard on piano called Fur Elise. And it was attributed to Ludwig van Beethoven, and it's also called Bagatelle number 25 in A minor. It is probably his most recognizable piano composition. It was written around 1810, and he was about 40 years old during this time. However, it was not published during his lifetime. It was discovered and published in 1867, which was 40 years after his death. The piece is very short, and it is characterized by a lyrical melody. And the story is what we're going to try to get into about where the title came from. Fur Elise, so in German that's Fur Elise, so a female named Elise, possibly full name Elizabeth during that time. That was a popular name. And so the traditional idea is that Fur Elise was dedicated to someone named Therese Malfatti. But wouldn't it be Elise? Not Elise? So that seems a little far-fetched to me, but it is one of the accepted theories for Elise. I don't know. Therese, maybe Therese, but not Elise. That's very specifically like an Elizabeth. So Beethoven is believed to have been romantically interested in her and may have proposed to her around 1810, the same period when Fur Elise was composed. Okay, and the original manuscript was discovered by Ludwig Nohl, N-O-H-L, in 1867, and it may have been misread due to Beethoven's really messy handwriting. I'll have to show you some of that. It is difficult to read his handwriting. So there's speculation that it could have he could have meant Therese, which is a longer word, so I don't see how that can be. Okay, then the other candidate is Elizabeth Rokel, and she was a German soprano and friend of Beethoven. She was closely associated with another composer around that time. And then the other person possibly is Juliane Catherine Elisabeth Behrensfeld. So I think that's kind of a stretch. There's like two middle names, unless that's what she went by. It was Elise. Less common theory suggests Elise might have been a young piano student of Therese Malfatti, to whom Beethoven gave the piece as a gift. So who knows? 40 years after he died, they came across these papers. This is really wild speculation. Okay, so my idea is it was probably someone who worked with Beethoven closely, because when he started becoming more deaf, he needed more help, and he did have some close friends, and he had some rivals. So, his rivals were somewhat his friends as well. So his closest friend was Ferdinand Ries, and a lot of his work sounds a lot like his work. So he lived from 1784 to 1838, and he was his secretary. So he put his music together. He probably made it more legible, honestly. and he was his friend and also his student. However, there was no one in his life that Ferdinand Ries was involved with named Elizabeth or Elise. So his wife was Harriet Mangione, and there's no one else that's listed as his girlfriends. Now there is a talk of this Giulietta Guicciardi and Josephine Brunswick from Immortal Beloved in one of his letters, Beethoven's letters. But it says here, Ries's personal life appears less scrutinized, so no evidence points to other romantic relationships. Okay, so the person I think that this music belongs to, Johann Nepomuk, Nepomuk, that's his middle name, Hummel. So everybody knows, like those little Hummel dolls, that's his last name is Hummel. Well, he was a virtuoso pianist and composer, and he had a complex relationship with Beethoven. They were friends, but also rivals, and both were prominent figures in Vienna's music scene. Their friendship began in the 1790s when they were both young musicians, but tensions arose due to professional competition and differing musical approaches. And again, my opinion about this piece is it is very light for something written by Beethoven. It seems to be written by somebody else's hand. Okay, so Hummel composed piano concertos, chamber music, and operas in a more lyrical, like this piece, classical style compared to Beethoven's intense revolutionary approach. Despite the occasional friction, they admired each other's talents, and Hummel visited Beethoven on his deathbed in 1827. So they were very close. Okay. And then it goes on to say, wanted to read about his wife, Hummel's wife. Guess what her name was? You'll never guess. Okay, his wife was Elizabeth Rockel. That was the one we mentioned earlier. So he married Elizabeth Rockel in 1813. When was this piece written? 1810. So, you know, he was probably courting her during that time. So not a lot is known about this composer, but we will definitely look into his music and kind of compare it to this style, the Fur Elise style. Okay, so a little bit about Elizabeth. I'm not sure how to say it. It has the 2 dots over the O. Rockel, I think. She was born in 1793. She passed away in 1883. And she was a celebrated opera singer at the Vienna Court Opera and the sister of Joseph Rockel, a tenor who performed in Beethoven's opera Fidelio. The couple had a happy and stable marriage that lasted until Hummel's death in 1837. They had 2 sons, Edward and Karl, both who pursued artistic careers. Edward was a musician and Karl was a painter. Elizabeth was a significant figure in Hummel's life, and she supported his career as a composer and performer, and she outlived him by several decades. Okay, and there's no documented other girlfriends of Hummel, so she's it. And it does say that she is speculated to be the one that the song is dedicated to. Okay, and that's the story of Fur Elise. So at some point we'll go over some of Hummel's music, or you can definitely look up his music on the internet or YouTube and listen and see what you think compared to Fur Elise. Okay, so going into how to play this song. Let's see. Okay. So we have, this is in A minor. So you're starting, I start with 5 on E in the right hand. And then fingering 2, 4, 3, 1. That's the easiest fingering there. You're all in one hand position. Some people write 4 and then stretch to 1. I mean, you could do it that way. I just find this easier. Okay, then at the same time this A hits, left hand is 5, 2, and then 1. And then A minor chord is filling out 1, 2, 4 in the right hand. And then 5th finger is B. Left hand is low E. Cross over to G sharp. And then